I was locked up and forgotten about. You know, I did 11 months in solitary in D.C., 10 days more solitary in Philly, and then shipped off to the highest security prison that they had in North Carolina. I was locked away with some bad people, you know, the Unabomber, fucking a lot of bad people.
And listen, did the country make mistakes? Have humans made mistakes around the world? Not just for the United States of America. And the United States of America has done a lot of dirty shit. We have our facts.
Right.
And we see those facts. But I asked myself, is there another perch, right? You got up on that scaffolding to understand what was going on below you. Dude, we have no idea what's going on in those fucking national intelligence rooms right now with Trump. You have no fucking idea what's going on with Iran. When you get up on that perch, dude, it's a different view. So although those are facts and it was bad, did they think? And I'm just giving them a benefit of the doubt. They don't deserve it. Did they think they were doing something right? Did they think they were doing something right with
What do you say they?
the apparatus?
So here's the thing, the apparatus is not for the American people. Do I think the outcome would not have been different had she gone to the hospital?
You think they would have put her on a
Ventilator.
Yeah.
And ultimately suppress.
Now they realize that's what killed all those people, a lot of those people.
We know that. Fact. That's factual information that you're speaking on, Ryan.
Isn't it funny how they try to put these things out there and confuse the human mind from fact to fiction?
It's a government control that has been initiated well before our birth.
Dude, we all have the best time ever to start a small business.
If I'm not going to be 100% in, I'm not going to do it.
Come on, man, just be yourself.
Yeah, and
just show up as yourself.
if you don't realize what I'm really about, I'm about freedom, family, and my country.
Scott, appreciate you being here. Your story is a wild one, not just because of January 6th, but all the other trials and tribulations you have been through, your life, cancer, boxing career, MMA career, losing your father in a tragic accident, taking care of your mother, and obviously spending time in prison for what went down January 6th, which we'll get into. The reason I started this podcast was because I was a troubled kid. I was kicked out of high school, first kicked out of middle school for the people who are going to watch this that don't know me, and sent to an alternative program called Pathways. I was not a bad kid. I had love in my heart. I still have a lot of love in my heart. I just didn't want to sit there in school. Had an anger problem due to home life. And finally, they let me back into high school and was kicked out again. It was a mutual separation, I call it, junior year. And I've now been able to build a very successful financial career. I own multiple companies or am partners in it. And I tell people this story is because if you walked a parallel path to me and you see me do it, that's going to give you inspiration. You're going to say, if that fucking wild guy or that dumb guy, Ryan, right, however you want to categorize me, can do it, I can do it. In your story, you've been through so much shit, and you're still here standing, and you're always going to stay standing. We were just talking about this. So I want people to see this story and be inspired and say, hey, I've been through this, that if Scott can do it, why not me? So I appreciate you being here, man.
Well, I got to tell you, man, this is a long time coming.
Yep.
I've seen what you've done, and I've seen your platform, and that in itself is inspiring as well. But it's a great reminder on what you do, and your message is that no matter how difficult the time might be that you're going through, there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and it's, for me, my number one, connection was with Christ. It wasn't always that way. I was just a ticket puller. I grew up in a Catholic church, but I wasn't really there, and I distanced, not on purpose, but I walked away from the church, from my Creator. So I'm, ultimately grateful for what I've been through, because it led me back to our Lord and Savior.
Well, they always say you come back home, right?
Always. Nobody, and there's something I firmly believe in, and it's a saying that nobody Nobody asked for the devil on their deathbed.
Correct. Nobody.
Nobody. And that for me couldn't ring any truer. You know, I was locked up and forgotten about. You know, I did 11 months in solitary in D.C., 10 days more solitary in Philly, and then shipped off to the highest security prison that they had in North Carolina. You know, I was locked away with some bad people, you know, the Unabomber, fucking a lot of bad people. And
We'll get into it, but do you feel like what went down that day? What laws were broken? Do you feel that your time was deserving?
so what went down that day is just such a fucking broad question, because what I experienced before anything that led to my sentence was nothing but like a gathering of love, a gathering of people that knew the truth, that sought out the truth, you know, and then ultimately being co-signed within the last, 24 hours with us finding out that China mass-produced all these fake
Ballots.
well, yeah, but driver's licenses, right? So they we know that the reason why we were all down there protesting a stolen election has now become true.
Yeah.
It's become true. But I went there by myself. Make no mistake about that. I wasn't part of a group. I was at home, just like any man in America, you know. And I got woken up at 3:30 in the morning. And I rolled over, I kissed my wife goodbye. And I traveled to the Capitol solo to go and have my voice heard. There was also some things that, you know, I wasn't fond about, and I know everything was regulated at a state level for the COVID shutdowns, but I didn't agree with them. I was one of the first people to have, if not the first person to have a protest in New Jersey for my gym. I had a gym that was very successful. I trained a lot of special needs kids, specifically nonverbal autistic. But when I saw the liquor stores were still open, AA was closed, but my gym where I trained special needs kids, you know, was closed, you know. And I wanted to have that voice heard, you know, and then it went so far deep as to, you know, this disgraced governor that we have that's thankfully going to be out of office soon. He was all about the COVID lockdowns until it affected his own professional soccer team. And what did he do? He said, oh, if you're a professional athlete, now you can train, right? Well, I had everybody register at my gym as a professional athlete. They came in to lock me down, and they said they were going to put chains on my doors, and I took the doors off the hinges, you know, originally, and worked a key fob situation, a key code situation where now you can't lock down my gym, you know. So that was originally one of my big disagreements, but I knew that like it wasn't specifically on Trump because it went to the state level. But the way it was handled was I felt like I needed to be there just to have my voice heard on that day, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, obviously you were a patriot. You loved this country. Your father was a state trooper. Cared about military. You didn't serve any time, but I know we discussed you wish you did. And a lot of people, you know, who went through COVID, it was like a real wake-up call for all of us to be like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah.
this feels like government overreach, even if we're not somebody who's on the extreme end of, you know, however they want to label us. Nobody thought that was okay. I don't
So in
care
the
who you were.
in the beginning of COVID, you know, me having leukemia, my mother had called me, and she said, "Could you come over to the house?" And I was closest to the house. out of all the siblings. And I got to the house, and she was on a recliner chair, and her boyfriend was upstairs, and heavy-set fella, but had underlying issues. Pre-existing comorbidities, as they called it, right? Comorbidities, as they called it. And I went up there, and I saw he had maybe 2 dozen water bottles empty. And I know that that is just going to flush out your system and anything good. And I knew he wasn't going to last another day. So I got Dave up, got him into the bathroom, and he was incoherent. I put clothes on him, and I carried this big man down the stairs. And we had called an ambulance, called a rig, and they showed up, and they were wearing, like, you know, the full hazmat suit. It wasn't the average ambulance. You know, it was obviously like a special response ambulance that showed up. And I mean, it reminded you of like Ghostbusters and shit like that, right? And I carry him out. I got him on the bench, you know, and I had a heart-to-heart with him, you know. And I told him that I loved him. I told him that my mother loved him. And I said, we'll see you soon. With that being said, I went back in, and my number one focus was now my mother in a reclining chair. And unlike him going to the hospital, I refused to let my mother go to the hospital. Against my siblings' advice, we kept her in the house. We did the, what's that? That
Ivermectin?
No, the pack. Like the travel pack? Yeah. So, but I wouldn't let her leave the house, you know, for 30 days, and continually checked up on her. And ultimately, she made it through. And not for 1 second do I think the outcome would not have been different had she gone to the hospital.
You think they would have put her on a
ventilator?
Yeah.
And ultimately suppress.
Well, now they realize that's what killed all those people, a lot of those people.
Yeah, we know that. Fact.
Yeah.
That's factual information that you're speaking on, Ryan.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how they try to put these things out there and confuse the human mind from fact to fiction?
Well, it's a government control that has been initiated well before our birth. Mass propaganda, everything that they do, and the manipulation of so many things, including now, you know, we spoke about this heavily with like your platform and the shadow banning and everything that, you know, they try and silence us. They try and silence us from telling ultimately the truth, because now we have factual information and we go to share factual information, and we're still silenced. We're still silenced. You know, this is going on a year plus when you had somebody like Zuckerberg, the biggest platform in the world, saying that he was going to, you know...
done shadow banning. He was done.
He was done. Done shadow banning. It couldn't be any more further from the truth. You know, and that's one thing that I ultimately preach, is that your truth is everything. Mm-hmm. I find you as a very truthful man.
Yeah. I try to be as truthful as I fucking can to almost my detriment.
And I'm the same fucking way. Everything about me, everything about what I've done, everything about my case is now backed up by so much evidence, you know, and it's not opinion. I don't speak on opinion. My opinion is to myself and my close ones. close ones. I don't get on or do a podcast or go and speak about things that I think. You know, I'm here to share what I know is factual information. You know, and that's something that I think we, as a society, not so much the right, but I do see it on the right. But I think that there's an overwhelming, growing majority of people that are easily manipulated by what was deemed what do they called it? They called it disinformation, right? But now that we have the truth, and it's backed up by scientific evidence and documentation, that when you even share it now, knowing that it's the truth, you're still shadow banned. You're still silenced. So that puts the check mark in my box of, we are not here yet. We are not here yet. Just because Trump came back and this and that. We're not, because there is still a silence.
He's fighting it every day.
He's fighting it every day.
He's
And
fighting
you
it
know
right
what?
now with this Iran war.
He's fighting it tooth and nail. But the thing is, we are still in a spot where we're being shadow banned for telling the truth.
So talk about psyops and disinformation. The one thing I personally will say when I try to remove myself from my opinion and a little bit of the facts that I know, right? Because those facts
Right.
can be facts.
Well, that's the first fucking thing, and you said it, Ryan. That's very, very, very admirable of you. Your opinion and what your heart tells you, right?
Yeah.
But after you absorb that knowledge, and you're that wet sponge, right? And you absorb the factual information, credible sources, and now you digest it, right? Now you got it. You got it. Who can fucking tell you different?
Nobody can tell me.
Nobody. Fucking nobody.
Nobody. And it doesn't, I'm not, again, I'm not looking to pick a fight with the fucking CIA, Mossad.
Who is? You won't
Or
win.
the U.S. government. Like you said
And
earlier.
you won't win.
U.S. government versus Scott.
You want to talk about 100%? Like, the easiest thing in the world to do is to fuck up, go to jail, do this, do that, right? But the hardest thing is to get out,
Yeah.
especially in my situation where, you know, and we'll get into it, but
You had all odds against
when you have a letter that says United States for Scott Fairland, you're not fucking winning. You'll never win. You'll never win.
You can't fight.
A 99%
Can't fight town
conviction
hall.
rate, you're not gonna. And you know, I had 12 charges. I had 7 felonies, 5 misdemeanors. A lot of those were considered impermissible double counting.
What's that mean?
So it could be like you're charged with in the Capitol. Then you're charged like in the Capitol with a weapon. Then you're like, and then it's like, then you have like civil, what was it called? Another one charged like civil disorder, obstructing an official proceeding. That, what they used on us ultimately, that crushed everybody, was the obstruction charge, 1512C2. So obstruction charge that was brought upon for the Enron case back in the day was ultimately overturned. That's what I was sentenced on. It carried a 20-year maximum. A 20-year maximum. So you got to understand, I am locked up with guys that have never even had a ticket, that were never arrested, no criminal history whatsoever. Because they walked in the Capitol, me and 300 other people, including Trump, were charged with this obstruction of an official proceeding, correct? And what it became was a bargaining chip for them, but a threat at the same time. Or if you didn't take a fucking plea,
You can stick it to you.
well, it's a 20-year maximum, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, he was overturned. That 1512C2 was overturned by the Supreme Court 6-3, which was very favorable, and what I was sentenced on. But I had already done my time, as well as the pardon. I had already done my time. I also pled guilty to the assault of a federal officer against objection after objection to my lawyer at the time, who I would love to see again soon, Harley Bright, who refused to acknowledge the fact that Metro PD is not a federal officer. Metro PD is a civilian career. That's why if you're a Metro PD officer, you can leave and go and serve the National Guard or the Army Reserves and come back to your civilian career. It's not it's the 111A, the 111B. One is assaulting federal officers, one is assaulting federal officers with a weapon. None of which happened. It wasn't assault with a weapon with me. It was the 111A. But I said, he's not a federal officer. And refused to stand on that. And but it's just a situation where at the time I knew that I wasn't going to get a fair trial in DC. If I had gone to trial in DC with these 12 charges, okay, where there's never been more than 10%, for a Republican candidate, right? Republican vote, that I was going to get a fair trial.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you weren't going to.
So at that point in time, what do you do? What do you do? You lick your wounds, right? You lick your wounds. I've been doing 11 months, almost a year in solitary there, right? And what I said was, I knew I was going to get a fair trial. Let's jump in front of this fucking wave that is our government, and be the first to plead guilty to the obstruction, the assault, whatever it was, and get out in front of this, because it's gonna the hammer's coming down. And my attorney, and my judge, Royce Lamberth, who was a Reagan appointed SAG judge, Vietnam guy, I thought he might fucking get it, right? Might get it. Well, he specifically stated that I did the right thing by being the first to plead guilty to those charges, because what was coming was going to be
Worse
sentence. I probably would have been sentenced to 12 years for everything all combined had I been found guilty, correct?
Yeah.
Now this man is still sitting in our judicial system, sleeping on the bench at 80 plus years old.
Well, I think we've seen a lot of corruption with the judges recently, where they're trying to deport these illegal immigrants, and you see them going against Trump. They're almost like running the country from...
Specifically in New Jersey, you're seeing a lot of backlash. Where we're from, obviously, right now, the mayoral candidate out of New York, blocking the extradition of people here illegally, and it's so crazy that, it's so crazy to watch the left under Obama, under Biden, right? Obama, he deported more immigrants than anybody. I mean, Joan Strike Barry was not a man of he was a favor of, civil unrest, and to see now Trump really hammering down on past even electoral candidates like Hillary Clinton, saying, you know, the illegals and this and that, and to see now the left have such like animosity or anger to something that they've been voting for the whole fucking time. Now that the guy that's in office is wearing a red coat, is just mind blowing, because it's what I think ultimately is that based on what we know as an algorithm, that they are only seeing the things, the propaganda, which I call it, that supports their fucking views, what they look at, what they heart, what they like. So they're not being fed information, which is why I love coming down here and doing these podcasts and talking to people and getting word out. I hope it reaches the masses, because you have to fucking understand that in this world, you cannot be a follower. We are the land of the free, home of the brave, right?
Amen.
Be a free thinker. There are things that Trump does, and I'm sure you agree with it, that I don't agree with.
Absolutely.
And that's what's fucking great. A difference of opinion is what makes up a democracy.
It's not a bad thing.
It's a beautiful fucking thing, because ultimately, at the end of the day, we vote in as a fucking constitutional republic. We vote in who we ultimately align with, right?
Or who we think is the best as
The
a
best,
country.
right? And I think now we're at a situation where the propaganda machine controls what it is that you see, what it is that I see, based on what I heart, what I like, what I share, who I talk to. And I don't think that these people are bad people. I just think they're so brainwashed. They're so brainwashed by the algorithm, which
Well,
they
it's the psychosis.
correct.
So, you know, Musk talks about it a lot. His kid was, you know, made into a trans as he sees it. He talks about the psychosis. You had a lot of the medical doctors during COVID, right, talking about they're in a psychosis. Like, hey, no, I helped invent this mRNA vaccine, which is Bob.
You're talking about, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know, the two doctors. They were
He just got picked up by RFK.
Yeah.
He is, so with that being said, not to cut you off, that mRNA, right? So that was the vaccine offered in the DC jail. So I couldn't go out. 11 months in solitary, right? I couldn't go out to receive at Howard University Medical. I couldn't go out to receive medical assistance for my cancer unless I took the vaccine. You also couldn't get your nails clipped. You couldn't get barber care. You couldn't do anything. Come out of your cell. Use the phone. Unless you took the vaccine. So I was at a point where my mother, who is my rock, my foundational life, I felt like she was having a nervous breakdown. So I said, fuck it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take I know it was a 2-part vaccine. I took the first vaccine just to get medical care. They use it as a weapon. They use it as a weapon on me. Where, sure, I could have fought it. But I wouldn't be here fucking right now, you know? I got a guy named Bart Shively who is in Dillsburg, Pennsylvania right now, who entered the system in DC just before I left. Just after I left, he came into C2B when I got shipped out. He came in as like a level 2, right? Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He got it at Camp Lejeune, a decorated fucking Marine. due to their refusal to treat this man, I just went and saw him yesterday. He's now a stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma man that has got days to live. I reached out to my brothers, you know, and Ryan Nichols is a great man, Shane Jenkins, I'm sorry, the guys I know, right? But I said, fuck this. I got this. This guy's got nothing. He's got nothing. I reach out to Leathernecks Nation Motorcycle Club. And within 24 fucking hours, we were going to give him, he's alive, but he's burnt to a crisp. He's home on hospice. He got days. Mm-hmm. I was able to assemble real American patriots, heroes that defend our right for freedom of speech, okay? As we're still fucking silenced. Mm-hmm. To assemble a crew that is going to give him a military Marine send-off. Yeah?
It's amazing.
You know, like, and that's why the fuck I'm here, you know? And that's why I didn't give up. That's why I didn't give up in solitary. 3 times they came to my cell. I never saw my evidence. Never even saw my evidence. They would come to my cell in solitary 3 different times with a thumb drive and drop it in the trash in front of me.
What do you think that was about?
The overreach of the DOJ and the Biden administration. I never even saw my evidence. But the best part about it, Ryan, is the fact that everything I say is backed up by video evidence. I saved 4 Capitol officers that day from getting their faces kicked in and possibly murdered by Antifa.
Tell us what happened with that.
So the lead up to that is that I ultimately wasn't going to go to the Capitol. I had got down there so fucking early that I thought I was there a day
In advance.
100%. And I posted a video and I said in the video, how far are you willing to go to defend your freedoms? And when I posted that video, a friend of mine who's in New York City, a fireman, who I respect and love more than you can imagine, because I withheld all this information because I know he'd lose his career. He said, Fairland, we're on our way. Meet me at the firehouse next to the Capitol. So they're right next to the fucking Capitol, there's a firehouse. And at the time I had my old man's, I was the baddest truck in the snow you could ever have, right? Small Dodge Dakota, 4-door, right? I drove it down there and they opened up the gates at the firehouse. And I went in there and I had some beer. And we watched ESPN and we had a gentleman's breakfast. There was no talk about any politics. Let's talk about sports and shit. And we got up to the ellipse. So I was where the stage was, where Trump spoke, Giuliani, everybody, right? I was at the 50-yard line. But I was also 75 yards back, but I was close enough that I could watch them. I could watch the speakers. And I remember Jacob Chansley walking through, who's a coward. He's the guy with the horns. Yes. So Jacob Chansley is the QAnon shaman with the horns, the face paint. It's 30-something degrees out. And he walks by me and he's got no shirt on, you know, and he's wearing these fucking Spirit Halloween pants. And I said, what are you doing, man? I said, put some clothes on, man. You're making us look fucking stupid. And he took it, and he knew to keep moving. But as we finished with Giuliani and we were hearing Trump speak, and Trump says, what when I get done, we're gonna march down the Capitol. We're gonna peacefully protest and have our voices heard. I said, all right, fuck it, let's go to the Capitol. I had no intentions of going there. I didn't have a mask on. I didn't have a helmet. You know what I mean? That ain't my shit, right? If I'm prepared to do battle with somebody, I don't wear shit. You understand? Mm-hmm. And we stopped and had like some hot dogs, pretzel down along the way.
Yeah, you weren't in an aggressive mindset.
Fuck no. And once we get down there, we took a bunch of pictures, which I got my phone back from the FBI. I'll show you. And I am at the beginning lawn of the Capitol. And I look in the distance. And I see the haze of smoke like this and pepper spray. I'm not one to stand around when I see unarmed women being assaulted by officers. I come from a law enforcement background. And as cliche as it might sound, it was like Mel Gibson in The Patriot. When he starts off in like a little walk, and then it's a jog, and it becomes a full sprint. That was fucking me. That was me. And I made my way to the front lines. And for me, ultimately is getting a vantage point. And I got up in the scaffolding. I got about 25 feet high up in the air in the scaffolding. And I'm trying to understand where the brutality is coming from, and it's fucking right underneath me. And flashbangs are going off. And I look up, and as I look up, I'm shot repeatedly with rubber rounds, pepper balls, the whole shit, right? And I crouched down in the bracing of the scaffolding, and I'm shot again repeatedly, and she was a good shot. She's wiping out my left kneecap, and she ran out of shit. And I stood up, and I said, "You have no idea what the fuck you're doing." And it made her fearful, and she backed away. And now I'm saying this for the first time because now I can, because I was pardoned. I also had a small blade on me. Small knife that I forgot that I even had. That's used for just
A lot of people keep small blades on them
for skinning, you know, my deer, field dressing, bear, deer, everything. And I look down and I see this white shirt. And for your audience, white shirt means lieutenant. It's supposed to be a supervisor. And I see this white shirt black guy blindly pepper spraying females over his line of officers, and also taking his baton and using it in a fashion to poke and beat. Those are vitals. I am ASP certified. I was a police officer. My father, you know, retired as a lieutenant in the state police station commander. And I know that that is not an authorized use of a weapon. What I said to myself before this happened was that I need to protect the people down below, because it was so coke bottled that so many of these old women had nowhere to go. Unarmed. Fucking make no mistake about it. Everybody's unarmed. Nobody's got shit. And I took my blade and I cut in the scaffolding. It was like for wind direction. So I could see through, but they couldn't see me.
What was it, like white tarp or something? Or
It was more like
screen?
gray in nature. And I cut a long strip off it to hand down for these people, these older people, to protect themselves. And they put it up to protect themselves. And it also enabled another crew that I might have or might not have said, move, like the second wave, you know? And right before that, I looked at that white officer and I saw him hit this old woman so fucking hard that I said, if he does it again, and I got my hands on the bracing, I was going to swing through, I was going to put my heel through his fucking face, through his nose, and ultimately try and kill him. And because of their recklessness, and by God's direction of the wind, their pepper spray and everything they were spraying came back on them. And they completely abandoned
That area.
that area. They go running. I come down. Now this first line of people, you can imagine, they've been coke bottled. They just want to go. Like, they just want, everybody's being pushed on. And that's why a lot of people went up to the Capitol.
I mean, if anybody's ever been in a concert,
100%. That is a great analogy.
Yeah, you're being pushed on from the people behind you. It's just natural.
It was like trying to
momentum.
get out of a mosh pit, but being a fucking older woman or an older man. Nobody was violent where I was. Nobody was being violent. And that's when all the officers retreated. And in this retreat, I know that so many of these people were pepper sprayed that they need water and assistance, right? So as I come up, there's a case of water. And I scoop up the water. And as I scoop it up, I think it was this hand, I forget. But as I scoop up the water, one of the officers left his baton behind. The reason why I left it behind was because it was bent from hitting everybody, and he couldn't retract his baton. And I remember picking up the water and it sliding into my fingers like this. Jaden X has it. That's a video. As I get up to the Capitol, I'm handing out water. And I go and I see, I'll give you this video too, which has never been seen before. There is scaffolding out there, motorized scaffolding for window cleaning on the top left west terrace. And these guys get on this motorized scaffolding and he hits the button, but only the left side, the right side goes up, I think it was. Everybody's like, oh. Well, suddenly he finds it out. And now it's here. They're going up, right? And I look to my left. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, fuck no. There's 4 Capitol officers that are locked outside on a stoop, like a New York City stoop, man. And I still back the blue. I still, to this day, I love cops, but I hate dirty cops. And they were being pelted with shit. It goes through, a fight ensues, and they're locked out. Nobody's around. There's only 4 of them. And it goes to the ground. I fucking dive on the ground. And as I'm on the ground, this Antifa fucking coward dressed in Trump gear, which I know is Antifa, goes to kick this cop, and I block it with my forearm. I grab him on the ground. I'll never forget this vision that I have of looking him in the eye. And he was fearful of his life. And I pick him up by his chest plate. And I said, you guys are going to get fucking killed. You're going to get killed. Let me get you out of here. I offer them that water. They said, we can't, or not permitted, we can't take off our gas masks. He didn't say permitted, but they're not permitted to take off their gas masks. He turns around. This is all the video I have now that I never seen, right?
It's wild that you never saw.
So
it
you
till
ready?
then.
He turns back around. He says, can you get us out of here? I said, I was an officer. I had to stop myself from going into who I know and everything. But I said, get in a stack formation. I'll get you out of here. And they do just that. They get in a stack formation, 4 of them on my shoulder that were locked out. And I bring them around the corner. As I bring them around the corner, I'm lit up. I'm lit up, like red dotted. And they're trying to yell like, no, he's okay, but they got their gas masks on. So they start giving the signal of like, he's okay. And meanwhile, I'm bringing them through the crowd with my hand up to let them know I'm not a threat. You understand?
Yeah, it's like a surrender.
100%. And I bring them back to them, and I'm fucking lit up. I'm lit up. And I go back to the same spot. So this is after I was shot 30 times, save 4 Capitol officers, and in comes Metro PD, like stormtroopers. Now, side note, our New Jersey State Police, the fucking highest of the high, and respect for life. New Jersey State Police was there before Metro PD showed up, and that's Metro PD. Okay? DC. These clowns start coming through the crowd like they're stormtroopers, and they're assaulting everybody along the way.
You hit with the
It's
axe a little bit there. It's snowing.
Christmas. As they're coming through the crowd, they're assaulting everybody. I don't impede them, obstruct them. I'm not giving a verbal command. I said, are you American? Act like one. And yeah, I'm fucking yelling at them. I'm yelling at them like, fuck are you doing? Right? And that's the video that was edited, okay, which I never saw until I had my guilty plea and I came back to my unit. It was already on TV. And it is this dirty fucking cop, Metro PD, that hit me with a baton on my back left rib. That's why I turned around. What you see is the video of me just turning around and pushing the cop. Not one day in my life have I ever
Never got you good.
It's all right. Have I ever been non-supportive of officers? Unless you're a piece of shit. Unless you're a dirty cop. But for me to just turn and push a cop, that's completely out of my character. I don't care who hits me, I'm going to turn and push you. It could have been the Pope. I would have turned and pushed him. And then I turned to him and I said, do not fucking touch me. And I put my hands up in a defensive posture. He smacks my hand down. That's when I hit him with a jab in his face shield. No injuries, no nothing. Still no verbal commands. I was never given a verbal command at all. And then...
At any point, as this is all going on, are you saying to yourself, like, fuck?
I said, well, I did
I'm in
say
this now.
I did say, I said they have no fucking control. They lost it all. They lost it all.
And now you're in the thick of it.
And now I'm in the thick of it. So I go into the Capitol. I'm one of 300 that were charged with the obstruction, including Trump. You know, there were 1,600 people prosecuted, right? Arrested for January 6th. I am one of 300 that was charged with the 1512 that was ultimately overturned by our Supreme Court 6-3. But as soon as I get into the Capitol, and I'm right there by the rotunda, I get to the rotunda and I look up, and there's got to be 100, 150. I mean, it's all photographers. And that big, beautiful rotunda,
Sitting there
our
waiting.
nation's capital, right? I said, this is fucking entrapment. So I turn. I only was in the Capitol on record 8 minutes. I turn and I walk out because I knew it was bullshit. And when I do so, there are two undeniable agents that haven't been charged because they're agents. That when I was walking out, they said, "You're going the wrong fucking way." And I said, "No, you are." And now there's video evidence of that.
You have that as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just make sure you get that to
I
us.
have. Oh, I have it. I have everything that I say is backed up with video evidence.
Why? Now let's play the other side. Why did you ever go into the Capitol? What was the point?
My point of going into the Capitol at that time, it wasn't a breaking and entering, so to speak, where I was, right? And I was like, it was one of those things like, all right, fuck it, I'm here, going to the Capitol, right? I'm like, but why the fuck do I need to go into the Capitol, right? Like, it was like, all right, what is this all about? And that's a reflection of how I acted. Saving 4 Capitol officers, defending our Capitol, everything that we stand on. There was no need for progress on my level. Mm-hmm. Those 8 minutes are something like I don't feel like I should have ever done either. I regret going in because I didn't need to.
That's the stupid piece. You feel like, damn, that was like.
I got sucked in. I got sucked in on the emotions of the instigators, agitators, and motivators because they were that deep. They were that deep. And,
How many total undercover Antifa
300
agents? You think there's that many, huh?
yes.
Wow. What does Cash and them come out and say?
Cash has come out and corroborated the fact that there was 26 paid instigators, agitators, informants, but he doesn't talk about how many FBI
Because
agents.
26 isn't shit.
There's no way.
Yeah, I mean,
And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why. Because I was able to break down people down in captivity that were Antifa. Zach Alam, who broke the window before Ashley Babbitt got shot. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Ashley Babbitt, this guy's fucking smashing shit. Ashley Babbitt punches him in the face.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Mickey. Ashley's mom. We drew an American flag. We all signed it. First 45, the worst of the worst in D.C., and we sent it to her. I broke down Zach Alam. He's incarcerated right now.
What do you mean you broke him down?
I smacked the shit out of him. I broke him down. I don't play the race shit. My best friend's black. And when I was in C2A, he called one of our guards the N-word. I don't play that word. I don't do it. And that was something that was easily verifiable because in 2019, I did the same for one of my best friends, who was black, and at a bar. And I wasn't drinking. There was no shit involved. We were down there talking about movies and pranks that we do in the hood. We would go into the hood and prank gangsters. And
Seems like a dangerous game.
no, but it's hysterical.
You're fucking crazy.
No, it's just fun. It's fun, and you get them to sign off. But with that being said, I don't do well with the N-word. I don't fucking like it.
We don't use it around me, my friends, nobody. It's not something.
It's something that ultimately will drive me off. Yeah. So with that being said, he was telling this officer, he called this officer, blah, blah, blah. And there was a 3-cell rotation in 2A. And he was in cell 9, I was in 13, so I knew I wasn't going to be on my rotation. So I said, CO, can you let me out on that? I got something I want to take care of, with a wink, And he said, Fairland, I got you. And if it wasn't for the bar mats, with the holes in them, behind the bar, that's in the showers. I would have stomped them to death.
Why? Because it padded him?
Huh?
Because it padded his?
Yeah. And then ultimately he, in front of everybody, admitted to being Antifa. The craziest part about Ashley Babbitt getting shot is the 2 SWAT officers that are standing right next to her receive radio transmission, walk away from her, and then
They were behind her, right? They came up that stairwell. Yeah.
right next to her.
Yeah.
They receive radio transmission, they walk away, and she gets shot. Yeah.
What do you think that was about?
About, or what it is?
Yeah, what is it to you?
It is an execution. It is an execution. Make no mistake about it, and I don't like getting into race shit, but had that been a white officer and a black female, we know the outcome would be different. If that was an unarmed, fucking military serving black female, and it was a white cop, make no doubt about it, it would have been worse. There would have been uproar.
Did that guy end up losing his job recently, or he stepped down, or?
Brother, he was playing cards that fucking night. He was playing poker. He got promoted. I can sit here right now and talk, and this is an open invite right now. To the officer, Michael Fanone. Michael Fanone was the cop with all the tattoos on his neck. January 6th committee, investigative committee, the one that cried on the stand. He was tasered 7 times. I watched his fucking body cam footage before I never saw mine, right? I was able to watch his body cam footage from the beginning of that day till the end of his day. He was never tasered, okay? That never happened. He wasn't even supposed to be there that day. He jumps into the crowd. The crowd is actually trying to help him and get him back to where he needs to be, right? He manages to adjust his body cam footage, gets to the first elevator. The elevator is out of order. So he walks around the other side of the Capitol to that elevator, comes up. He gets checked by a fucking medic that says, do you have any bumps, bruises, contusions we need to know about? And he said, nope. And they're like, then you could go back in. This dude lied on every platform. Him, Harry Dunn, the tall black cop that walks pigeon-toed like a fucking clown, lied under oath about what his dealings with my friend Kelly Meggs and the Oath Keepers, Kenny Harrelson, decorated fucking Army guy. They kept people away from him. Nobody touched him. Nobody called him the N-word. That never even happened. That never even fucking happened. So much so that Pelosi's fucking head of security, okay, that wrote a book, and fucking Harry Dunn writes a book, their stories, they fucking lied under oath. They perjured themselves in these fucking books. They never even crossed paths. And it's all backed up by video evidence.
This is January 6th aside. Trump said something the other day that really caught my ear. He said, well, you guys had me busy the first term.
Thanks, brother. Let me get one.
On the first term, I was hunted.
Yeah.
I was the hunted. And now I'm the hunter.
Yeah. Well,
And I hope that means that these people who did treasonous things throughout this whole duration of the election, J6, COVID, all of it, I really hope somebody...
That only starts with politicians being afraid again.
But listen,
And shout
but
out
they
to,
are afraid. They are afraid. That's what they did.
and
That's why
shout
they
out-
did what they did to you.
And shout out to Ian Smith.
Making politicians afraid again.
Fuck yeah. Until I see people getting arrested, we are fucking... How far along are we now knowing that Schiff, that Adam Schiff,
Yeah. Watermelon head.
fucking
Yeah, doctored everything.
everything. Everything. How about the Russia hoax? How about everything? How about the fact that he had two fucking dudes just like literally call him and prank him?
What about Lisa Page?
Buddy, Page and who? Struck?
Peter.
Yeah. But where are we? But thank you. Where are we? Where are we? When are the arrests going to happen?
So I'm with you, and I'm not giving those guys a pass. Cash, Mangino, nobody. But I do trust in Trump, and I think that he's a guy that kind of operates like the mob. And maybe someone would say that's wrong, but I think you need kind of a mobster running the country right now when you have all the turmoil that you do in this world. And I don't think he's going to let.
Well, I'll take it back from
I don't
that.
think he's going to let anybody get away with it.
All right, so here's what I'll tell you about the mobster analogy, which I agree with you to a point, but I disagree. So let's just go on the spectrum of how many guys that are in the mob ultimately flip, right? Right?
Become informants, something.
Become informants, become something, right? So for the last, how many years have they tried to put Trump away?
Forever.
Forever. They made up the
never
Russia
stopped.
hoax. They made up everything.
Rapes.
Every fucking thing, right? And you can't get it, right? So what I like about Trump is the fact that, one, he gave up everything for the love of his country.
Call him a narcissist or not, I don't give a shit. He gave up a lot.
There's shit that he says where I'm like, all right, that was, you didn't need to
not
say
needed.
that. That
Not
doesn't
needed.
help
Put
your
your foot in
fucking,
the mouth right
that
now.
doesn't help your fucking, help your cause, right?
But when you're kind of crazy, dude,
Do one of
you can't
these
help
jobs.
it.
You got a little ash right here. No, go right here. That side. Got it.
Gracias.
So, but here's the thing. But also in a sense, I think we needed a fucking businessman. We needed a businessman because so much. Could you fucking imagine right now when you have old Biden's fucking foreign relations guy saying that Biden was the worst motherfucker you could ever have in international affairs, right? Dealing with this shit. If we didn't have the pallet of money going over there, right, through Obama, if we didn't have all this other bullshit, they wouldn't have never had the money to progress, right? Now, we could go deeper, on everything with Israel and the whole shit. My firm fucking belief is that we need to fucking, one, seal our borders, which we did, right? So what'd they have? How many fucking, 64,000 last year this time around?
What was the total of like around 12 to 15 million that came in over 4 years?
No, but over the last, so in May alone, correct me if I'm wrong, fact checkers, 64,000, I think there was
That are still coming over? I mean, we're at the lowest
to
limits
zero,
ever. Yeah,
to zero.
Yeah.
64,000 last year to this year, zero coming across. What I firmly believe is that one, motherfucker, we need to secure our borders, right? Secure our borders. Two, take care of our fucking veterans. We take care of these countries that do dick for us. They do dick for us. And we've been put on a platform where it's like, oh, we're the greatest nation in the world. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we fucking are.
Because of the people, not the government.
100%. Come here, get vetted, and do it the right way.
Yeah, a lot of people did. A lot of Irish people did.
Make
A lot
no
of
mistake
Italian
about it.
people
Did you see the Chicago mayor
did. Yeah.
talking about reparations? Do you know that there was no slavery in Illinois whatsoever, ever?
You know, some of the first slaves were Irish slaves up in Newport and worked for
Yeah,
some
but
of the
nobody
rich-
wants to talk about that.
worked for some of the richest
Irish
families.
people.
Irish people.
Do I get reparations? None of my family were fucking Irish slaves.
Listen, if they're handing it out, I mean, I'll take it. You know, I don't know what they want to give me.
I don't want it.
I don't want it either. But this is how people live, right? Give me, entitled me, poor me, woe is me.
What's happening through the indoctrination of every fucking college, even Ivy League, was what? Fucking you come to college, right? Right? These left-leaning liberals now.
You're sending your kid to go to the jihad.
Now they're smarter than you because they went to college, right? But now hold on, wait up. We're going to pay for your fucking college. How does that make any fucking sense? How far does it go back? When do you say, like, all right, the cutoff is fucking 1980? When do you say loan forgiveness? How about everybody that's been through it before that?
Yep.
Where is your cutoff? And that's something that goes back to even fucking taking down monuments.
Yeah.
Where does it end? Where does it stop?
It can't. It would
You
go forever. Yeah.
You can't.
It's stupid. And listen, did the country make mistakes? Have humans made mistakes? Around the world, not just for the United States of America. And the United States of America has done a lot of dirty shit. And the question I was going to pose to you earlier about not knowing all the information, we have our facts.
Right.
And we see those facts. But I asked myself, is there another perch, right? You got up on that scaffolding to understand what was going on below you. Dude, we have no idea what's going on in those fucking national intelligence rooms right now with Trump. You have no fucking idea what's going on with Iran.
When you see Domino's sending fucking, listen.
When you get up on that perch, dude, it's a different view. So although those are facts and it was bad, did they think? And I'm just giving them a benefit of the doubt. They don't deserve it, right? But you're a God-fearing man. You've found, God again in jail. Did they think they were doing something right? Did they think they were doing something right with
What do you say they?
the apparatus?
So here's the thing: the apparatus is not for the American people.
Of course not. But I'm just trying to pose
That's
that
one
question.
thing, and that's one thing I think that I believe because I see it. I don't go to protests now. I think my resume speaks for itself.
If I was your lawyer, I would advise you to stay away too.
Well, it doesn't take it doesn't take a lawyer. It takes common sense. It takes common sense to realize that the apparatus, so to speak, is something that is on a level now of where we still haven't seen the Epstein files, right?
That's so crazy to me.
I haven't seen them, and I'll tell you why.
You think Trump's on it?
And I'm speaking on this on a personal level. I know the roommate of fucking Jeffrey Epstein. I found him. His brother called me and said, we can't find my brother.
Why did they call you?
I was very connected, and I still am, on prison reform, and what I've done since I've been out. The prison that I was in, the cafeteria was only open for 1 month, and it got condemned for mold, right? And I was able to, through reports, through Raleigh, North Carolina, everything, make such a fucking stink and raise so much fucking noise that they reopened. They reopened the cafeteria. So mind you, throughout my prison bid, 1 month in, I have a cafeteria. After that, breakfast, lunch, and dinner were fed to me through a bean slop. A bean slop. To the point where they tried starving me. I was getting a fucking hard-boiled egg a day. When you say apparatus, it's more than fucking, it's so much more than you could possibly imagine.
So deep.
It's so deep, it goes so deep that you feel like you're on the treadmill at an incline Your trainer's telling you to not stop fucking running.
Or you're on a hamster wheel going nowhere.
You're not going nowhere. You're not going nowhere. But when do you give up? I won't. I won't. I'm still fucking running. I'm still running. And I'll continue to run. I'll continue to run till I expose all these lying cowards on both sides of the aisle. You got somebody like Lindsey Graham that wants to put boots on the fucking ground right now.
Dude, I can't stand that
Thank
guy.
God he's up for re-election because he's gone.
He's gone.
He's gone. Here's my thing.
Talk about
Here's
being
my
tone deaf.
here's my thing. After going out to fucking Pennsylvania, driving out there 3 hours, didn't even get to see Bart Shively because he's fucking finally got some sleep, and I got him on some morphine, and his body is filled with fucking blisters and scabs. Who wants to die, who has no fucking family, right? It's such a fucking problem in America. It's such a problem in America where we don't take care of root fucking shit.
Mm-hmm.
Our veterans deserve every fucking bit
How many
of our
veterans?
support.
How many veterans are killing themselves a day?
Average 22.
It's
And it's
disgusting.
fucking
There
disgusting.
shouldn't be one.
When my father came back from fucking Vietnam, they were spitting on him at the fucking airport. Could you imagine that?
No,
I can't.
It's disgusting.
I wish I was this age now, picking up my father at the time before I was fucking born, to smash out every one of these fucking clowns, these cowards.
What's in
That
you-
gave them the right. That gives them the right.
What's in you is what's also in me. I'll give you credit. I mean, I told you I was this close to going down to January 6th, and I didn't. You have what's in you to do what's right.
And
You got
that's
caught up in shit.
That's ultimately what I want everybody to feel. I don't. Here's the thing, Ryan. If you're a liberal, I love you.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't hate you.
I love you. You know what? It's great about that? The difference of opinion.
Yeah. And we could talk.
Because we can. Because we are in the greatest nation in the world.
How do we bring people back together, right? So here's a
Because it's open discussion. Don't let your fucking emotions
take over.
take over from what's factual.
Well, that's what I see on the left, is they're so emotionally upset.
And I'll tell you why again. It's because of what their clickbait is, and everything that they say is all propaganda.
I got to be very careful how I word this. So there's somebody that I know, and they're a doctor. And when Elon Musk came in, he said, I'm going to send an email out to people that are in different government programs, and doctors do different things for the states
Right.
and federal government, but they don't actually work for the government. And this person was refusing to send the email back. They were so triggered by Trump and Elon that they were willing to give up their career and their status.
You
and
have
what they
to
had
be
going
able
on.
to understand that you're. So everything that we do is, and when you meet somebody, is based on what? Your personal.
interpretation of
Not even because interpretation goes as long as so far as you could speak. But we are based on a nation where you observe everybody on the way they look.
yeah,
Right?
It's bad. Yeah, it's bad.
And it's a fucking terrible thing.
yeah, that's why I hate country clubs.
Like I said, I was accused of being a racist. My best friend is black. My wife was Colombian. I don't have a racist bone in my body, and if they looked me up, they would see that I got locked up for somebody calling my best friend the N-word.
You can be easily judged. Tattoos, hand tattoos.
But
Put you in a box.
Here's the thing. Emotional, well, it's not emotional, but I will say that first impressions,
Emotional intelligence, being an empath, reading a situation.
see, emotional intelligence fucks you. Emotional intelligence will fuck you because it's what our grandfathers told us. It's what we've known before this. Your intelligence isn't emotional. It's not emotional. It's based on what you know. Mm-hmm. It's based on what you know, right?
No, it's actually based on what I see.
I am a motherfucking. I treat everybody the way they treat me, man. I see no color. I see no gender. I could go to the Bronx right now. Shout out to my boy Fambino. I could go to the Bronx right now, and I've done this, and have fucking cops pull up riding too deep and be like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, why, what's up?" They're like, "You're the only white motherfucker for 2 square miles." Understand? Emotional, anything emotional needs to be wiped out from your thoughts, your beliefs. Like, yeah, you can take an emotional belief on somebody that does something to you or your family, right? And let's just say something happens and fucking would never wish this on you. But if it was a black man, there's categories and different circumstances that lead people to do certain shit. Make no joke, no joke about it. It could be a white motherfucker that's off the hinge, that acts this way, which we see every fucking day, right? But what happens is this: the portrayal and projection and portrait
It's the media. It's
of
everything.
what we see becomes, we got a white mass murderer again, right? And we just saw this. We just fucking saw this with this
Minnesota.
with this coward fucking governor of Minnesota, Waltz, who wanted to put tampons in fucking men's bathrooms, right?
Yeah, there's something off
His
about that
elected official went out and sought out to murder the woman, okay?
Who voted no against voting for
And the fear in her eyes.
when she spoke.
Come on, man. Let's hold people accountable. No matter what side of the aisle they're on, hold them accountable. But ultimately,
Is the apparatus too big to solve?
the apparatus is more deep than you think.
I think it's extremely
Well,
deep.
that's why I'm going to tell you that Epstein hasn't come out. Epstein shit hasn't come out because it's fully controlled by Mossad. If you want to put my tinfoil hat on and my shit, I'm going to tell you what I believe now.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why the Epstein client list hasn't come out, whole shit is controlled by Mossad.
Mm-hmm.
You know who Ghislaine Maxwell's father was?
Yep.
Okay. So along with that being said, I have a dear friend who is an Army Ranger who is transgender.
Mm-hmm.
That's me accepting, right? Mm-hmm. Jessica Watkins, Army Ranger, transitioning, locked up with me and other men in D.C. I did 11
She was a
months.
girl transitioning or a man transitioning?
A man.
All right.
Transitioning. She was locked up with Ghislaine Maxwell.
I don't give a fuck if you do that. Just don't.
I don't
Don't
fucking,
put it on me. Don't tell me to do
and
it.
every gay that I know,
Don't fucking tell me to do
every
shit.
gay that I know isn't that way. Isn't that way.
No, not at all. They just want to live their life.
100 fucking percent.
And I don't have to fuck with it if I don't want to. And you shouldn't be
I
upset
get it,
about
but here's the thing. It goes back to what they're pushing on platforms that denounced you
it puts everybody in
and
a box.
crippled you, is the manipulation of social society and social ingestion is so disgusting.
Well, who created the platforms to do it?
The same fucking guy that shook fucking Trump's hand and was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Zuckerberg," right? Now he's doing jujitsu. We're like, "Oh, okay, he's one of us." No, he's fucking not.
No, he's
Shit
playing the game.
shit hasn't changed. Nothing's changed. My platform is shit. The
No, but
minute I
who
start
really-
putting
but
out,
who
the
really-
minute I start putting out my book, they started fucking crushing me. They crushed me.
We got to talk about the book a little bit.
Reforged is such a great book because it reaches across the aisle. It reaches across the aisle, and I had this told in the third person. So it wasn't I.
Well, you
me,
could be
me,
put in
me.
a box, right?
What's that?
You could be put in a box. J6er, tattoo guy, know the guys that roll in
I
some
was.
biker and some biker
I was.
gangs. You know the guys in the hood, right? You could be put in this box.
I
You're
was.
also a cop. You
But
also,
if they did 20 minutes of fucking investigation, they would know that my wife was from
they
Colombia.
had no interest in doing an investigation.
They would know that I was locked up in 2019 for somebody calling my best friend the N-word.
But they didn't want that. They wanted to paint you as something.
I was that
which
guy.
is your point of what is going on out there in society, especially utilizing social media. I think the intelligence agencies created that as a spy apparatus early on.
Of course.
And, you know, they've run, but it's
course.
backfired on them.
If you take 100 red ants and you take 100 black ants and you put them in a jar, they're fine. Shake up that fucking jar and watch what
pissed.
happens.
Yep.
Who's shaking the jar right now?
I think Trump's shaking the jar, and they're all fucking running. So, we've talked a lot about, obviously, your experience with J6, how you look at the country. You're a good man. You want to help. You don't claim to be perfect, but you live your truth. You tell your truth. But we skipped a lot of great things in your story. One of them being that you were a pro boxer. You had a boxing gym training autistic children. Boxing means a lot to you. And Mike Tyson was part of the reason why you got signed originally into the pros. Talk about that story.
Well, so leading up to that, I was a fighter, right? And my father put me in a car because I was fighting 3 times a day. And he drove me down to Patterson, New Jersey. God rest his soul, FIFO Toledo, my trainer, and Joe Greer, who's still alive, Boxing Hall of Fame. But yeah, so I had won the Golden Gloves, Diamond Gloves, and my father dropped me off in Patterson. Like I said, fighting 3 times a day, and it was like more of like him thinking I was gonna go down there and just get my fucking
Maybe teach you something.
my brakes beat in, right?
Maybe you needed it.
So Mike is one of the reasons why I got signed by Main Events through Kathy Duva, was because Mike Tyson, I was hitting the bag. And I come off and he's sitting on the ring post, and I'll never forget it. And he's like, yo, my man. He's like, when you throw your left hand, he's like, you got to bring. It's like you bring your hip to the party. Bring your hip to the party. I'm like, what the fuck is Mike Tyson? Like I'm already like absorbed. Like, fuck, this is Mike Tyson, right? And he's sitting on the ring. And he's like, yo, when you throw your left hand, he's like, pivot with your left foot, like you're quaffing a bug, or you're putting out a cigar. I hit that bag so hard that Carl Moretti, who was a matchmaker at the time, his ass hit the windowsill and it broke out the window. And that's when I got signed by Main Events.
No shit.
Yeah, later on to my team was Vladimir Klitschko, Arturo Gatti, who was a great man and a dear friend, God rest his soul. Andrew Galata was my sparring partner for every week. He hit me so hard one time after working at the, balancing at the what was it called, on Marin Boulevard in Jersey City. The next morning we go to spar. He hit me so hard, I swear to God, I saw a cigarette fly. He spun me around, I saw a cigarette fly out of my mouth. Yeah.
Were you smoking a cigarette?
I think I was.
What'd you do?
No, from the night before. Real talk. So I did 6 rounds with fucking Vladimir Klitschko, right? So I broke my left hand 26 times, my right hand 26. 26 and 16. This one is from Klitschko. See that? I hit him with a jab, and I dislocated my CBC boss. So your hand makeup is metacarpals, right? Metatarsals, metacarpals. There's 8 bones that lie behind your metacarpals in your hand that are free floating.
Yeah,
They're free floating.
They're not really connected.
They're not connected to anything. What happened was these came up, hit this, and dislocated everything. So they had to remake both of my hands over time.
So your boxing career was something that you loved. You did a bunch of pro fights. How many pro fights?
So I was undefeated in the amateurs. I won the Golden Gloves, Diamond Gloves. I think I had 5 or 6 pro fights. Never lost. But due to the amount of like surgeries and breaks and everything, in my hands, I switched over to MMA.
So 26 hand breaks, 16 on the other hand. You thought MMA was a good idea?
Yeah, because then I could choke people or kick them.
So you didn't have to just use your hands.
No,
How'd that
give me
go?
another option. It went well until, obviously the being diagnosed with cancer, then they felt like it was
Liability.
liability, contagious, maybe.
So, how old were you when you were diagnosed with leukemia?
I was diagnosed on 10/10/10. So that's 15 years. 15 and a half years.
So, I mean, you're a fighter. And I don't mean just by, because you boxed or you did MMA. You're fighting. Your father was killed in a tragic motorcycle accident. We didn't touch on that. I know we did prior to the camera coming on. But your mom and dad were on a cruise. Unfortunately, somebody who fell asleep at the wheel came.
Not on a cruise, just on their motorcycle on Mother's Day.
Yeah, just going for a cruise.
2012.
Going for a bike ride. And unfortunately, this person took your dad's life.
Yeah.
And your dad meant everything to you. Had you in boxing, state police, New Jersey State Police.
He tried. And that's something that I deal with every day. Great man, a man of valor, a man of respect, dignity. And that's why I feel like life is about your legacy and what you're going to leave behind, right? Like, what are you going when your time happens, and ultimately your plug is pulled? What are you going to leave on this world? What impact? What can you ultimately be satisfied with for your existence? And I'm still trying to do more to solidify that. I think I'm on the right path right now by spreading God's word. But I don't think I'm there as a person. And
What do you think you need to work on most?
Forgiveness.
Who's the top person you think you should forgive, but it hurts?
The man that killed my father.
Yeah, that's a fucking hard one.
But I'll get there. Because violence is not a part of my life anymore.
I think I don't think. I know you'll get there. I know you will. I see it. I see it in your heart. Forgiveness is definitely not easy either.
Yeah. Forgiveness is something that, as a believer in Christ, and there's so many things that you have to check off. Like, am I the one to judge? Am I the one to forgive? Ultimately, I don't think it's up to me. I don't think it's up to me and for what I believe in and what I believe in. And I ultimately believe in I believe that right now that there is a huge following back towards Christ. I feel like right now we've seen so many people ultimately surrender themselves to their God.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it might be.
There's been so much pure evil in the world for so long, and it's got a hold of our schools, it's got a hold of our media, it's got a hold of our...
I agree.
Movies, sports.
Well, that's been going on for so long that finally people are waking up to it, and I just hope that when people read my book,
that comes through.
That they're in tune to not what just was one day, but ultimately an example of somebody that fucking was running on all cylinders, and was ultimately thought of as somebody that was going to lose his fucking shit when I lost my father, that I am that I'm a great example of somebody that's able to overcome, persevere, and I relate onto Romans 12:12, which is something that's so awesome, you know, and rejoice in hope, endure in suffering, and persist in prayer. And that's what Romans 12:12 talks about. And it's just, you can overcome so much by just holding Christ dear to your heart.
Kind of like a check and balance, I think about it as.
Well, there's checks, there's balances, and there's knowing that your Creator is ultimately your best friend.
One, and he's in control. You have no control.
Oh, of
So like
course.
your anxieties that come up, right? I'm a businessman, so I make business
And his timing
moves.
is always perfect.
Yeah, I make business moves, and you know, you think it's going to happen. All of a sudden, you're like, wow, I laid out a lot of money. This is going bad. This is going bad. And then, boom, that situation happens. And I was like, okay.
Well, that's God's way of removing people that
It's maybe
aren't
humbling me,
formidable
it's
to
maybe
your,
teaching me
that
something.
aren't formidable to what you believe in. His path is the path.
Yep.
I
I'm
just
on a
got-
path, dude. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going, but I don't think you see many people who lived the life I lived younger, did what I did in school, without a formal education, show people with $100 million what to do with their money. You show me another person in this country, I don't think there's many of me.
And I'll tell you why. Because your grassroots are what you believe in.
And I don't fucking deviate, dude. I don't deviate
And that's
for
why I
any
appreciate,
motherfucker.
and that's why I appreciate you having me. And that's why I felt like there was a general connection between you and I.
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful to come out here.
So
and-
I think you're definitely a bad dude if you get on the wrong side of you. When you walked in my garage, I have a sixth sense too. It's something God gave me. Instantly, I felt actually like love from you. I didn't feel anything that was violent or
That's what I want
how
to give the world.
how you were portrayed for January 6th and you know how they locked you up, or all those days of fighting, whatever you were fighting through, and you know whatever you had going on in your life.
Still standing.
You're still standing.
Brother, I got to tell you, I don't shake hands sitting down. I appreciate everything.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. That's great.
My man on the gram.
Absolutely.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you.